Joe Biden and congressional Democrats are still trying to reach an agreement on the White House's proposed budget. Now, tucked inside the bill is a provision to beef up the IRS and its ability to go after tax cheats. Democrats claim they are only targeting millionaires, but are they really? Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen had supported the initial suggestion to monitor any bank account that had just $600 in transactions in a year. That proposal has been updated to $10,000. But what does $10,000 in transactions look like? Well, if you withdraw or deposit into your bank account $28 a day on average over the course of a year, you will pass this threshold. So basically, it targets just about everyone. Well, here to break down this plan further and what it would mean for you is House Oversight and Government Reform Ranking Member James Comer of Kentucky. Congressman, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me on.
You know, like I mentioned, $28 a day, you're looking at a cup of coffee, a modest lunch and dinner, maybe a few bucks spent getting to and from your place of work. So, Congressman, who are the Democrats really targeting here, and what's the rationale behind it?
They're targeting everyday working Americans, and they're trying to pay for this ridiculous $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill. They're trying to pay for it on the backs of working Americans instead of the millionaires and billionaires like they're telling people and the mainstream media keep reporting. There's no reason in the world for the IRS to have to focus all their auditing power on everyday average Americans. I think all of us would agree that there are tax cheats out there, and those are the people the IRS should be targeting. If you're targeting the tax cheats, the ones that have millions of dollars in income but pay no taxes, then the $600 threshold or even the $10,000 threshold shouldn't apply. This is just the government's way of getting bigger, the Democrats' way of expanding the IRS so that they can spy on every American.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't the IRS have enough data to go after the wealthy or those that are taking advantage of loopholes to avoid paying their fair share?
They absolutely do. And another thing, the banks have a mechanism called a SARS report, suspicious activity report, to where if anyone is making questionable transactions, if they're withdrawing suspicious amounts of money, questionable amounts of money, if they're depositing lots of cash, then the bank automatically has to fill out a suspicious activity report. So there are mechanisms in place to catch Americans who are potentially doing what the Democrats say they're trying to do by expanding the IRS. They're trying to greatly expand the IRS and pay for this $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill on the backs of working Americans. And that's exactly opposite of what the Democrats are telling the American people they're doing.
Yeah. Well, Congressman, there was a Scott Rasmussen poll out last week, and it said that 72% of voters think that the IRS collects too much information and that more privacy protections are needed. Now, this is coming as the Democrats want to spend $80 billion to hire almost 87,000 new IRS agents. What do you make of that?
Well, the Democrats in Washington want to grow government, and they want to expand the number of federal employees any way they can. That's their base in the election, the federal employees, and the IRS is already a pretty big federal agency. But what the Democrats have tried to sell on this aspect of their ridiculous $3.5 trillion unnecessary spending spree is, oh, we're going to go after millionaires and billionaires. Then why are you targeting people, as you said, that withdraw $28 a day out of their account? That's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. And again, it goes along with a pattern of the Democrats trying to infringe upon our liberties, trying to grow the government, trying to spy on everyday average Americans. And instead of taxing millionaires and billionaires like they're saying, they're going to end up taxing working middle-class Americans.
Yeah. And Congressman, I get a lot of messages from our viewers on social media and so forth, and this is something that they are very concerned about. What do you say to those folks tonight?
Well, the Republicans are trying to get your backs. There have been more messages on this issue than any part of the budget reconciliation bill in my office. So I know it's important to people in Kentucky. The community banks, who are the backbone of most of the communities in America, regardless of whether you're in California or Kentucky, the community banks sponsor all the Little League sports programs. They loan money to small businesses on Main Street. They don't want this because it's more compliance. Dodd-Frank, under the Democrats, made community community banks have to fill out so much paperwork, so much unnecessary paperwork that no bureaucrat ever reads, and this just only makes them have to do even more. And they pass those extra costs on to consumers. So this is a bad bill all the way around. It's just another example of unnecessary legislation, unnecessary spending by the Democrats in Washington.
Well, Congressman James Comer, we appreciate you. Thanks for taking time to join us tonight. We hope that you'll come back soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.